Hello, and welcome back to This Week I Tried, or TWIT for short. As always, the premise is simple. I play a game, write a review, and eventually get round to recording it. Once again, apologies, but this footage is from a stream, which means in the bottom right corner you can see a black square which is covering up my webcam as my mouth would not match the words you can currently hear. And if you haven't already gathered, this week I tried Apex Legends, which for me is quite the achievement as I look to battle royales the same way I look to cheap action flip, with scorn and the belief they are the worst thing to happen to their respective industries. This lies in the tryhardiness of battle royales where everybody wants to be the next ninja, the sheer number of games trying to cash in on this genre, and of course the reliance on microtransactions to make money. However, and this is a big however, Apex Legends has drawn me in more than any multiplayer game has since Modern Warfare 2. It's addictive, it's fun, it's relatively balanced and actually unique among the many other things we will get to later. However, it is not without its flaws, and those flaws are quite damning in their own ways. Now, let's start with the basics. This game was made by Respawn Entertainment, who made most famously, other than Apex, Star Wars The Fallen Order and Titanfall, the latter of which is what this game is essentially a battle royale of. There's some bitterness regarding that last point, especially in the Titanfall fanbase, which believes Titanfall 3 was shafted for this game, something not helped by the contradicting statements regarding the development cycle of Apex Legends. That is mostly another issue, but I thought you should know of a reason why some people may be biased against this game, especially in older reviews from the early years of the game. Now moving on to the actual game. It is a battle royale, which is to say a bunch of combatants are dropped onto a map and they fight to the death. There is an encroaching circle that causes damage if you are outside it, the damage being significantly worse the further into the game you are. There are also tiers of loot such as better shields and self-revives which you will want if you want to win. Which brings us nicely on to one of the main differences from this game to other battle royales. The guns themselves are mostly a matter of personal preference as far as I can tell. That is without watching any MLG guides to explain which guns are best. That is not to say there aren't bad guns such as the light pistol which is complete trash, and there aren't good guns like that sniper which you can only get from drops. Generally speaking, the guns are a matter of preference. If you want heavy damage and low fire rate, go heavy ammo. If you want high fire rate and low damage, go light ammo. And if you want to be weird, go energy ammo. Considering looting weapons is one of the big things about battle royales, I'm not entirely sure if that was a good point or a bad point. From my perspective, I can say it's amazing. So disregarding that point, the main pull of this game over let's say Fortnite is that the movement is incredibly fluid, a perk of being born out of the Titanfall engine, I presume. Being that I'm neither a game developer nor a game reviewer professionally, it's hard to explain what makes the movement feel so much better. When comparing it to Fortnite or more notoriously PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the movement feels significantly better. This review's meant to be about Apex and not these games, so I'll make my complaints quick. I don't know how to describe Fortnite's movement other than it feels artificial, mainly because you're using building to get around rather than actually moving. With PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, let's just say it's an armor-free mod, and if you know what I mean by that, you know why the movement's terrible. Moving on, the second pull is that there is no building, which is one of the reasons why I hate Fortnite, and why Fortnite is near impossible to get into as the meta is trash. Instead, what you get are some incredibly well-decided maps, which we'll get onto later, which don't get torn to shreds in search of building materials. The third pull of the game is the characters, or legends as they are known. You have a choice of 6 at the start and 16 in total. These legends are split into 4 categories: tank, support, assault and recon. Now ignoring those with their own special abilities, these characters are as far as I can tell the same. They have the same health and take the same damage and mostly have the same speed. The only difference is their hitboxes, poor Gibraltar. Now I won't go into each character simply because I don't own them all, but the basics are as follows. What makes the tank is normally some kind of defensive ability such as force fields. The tank is probably a misdemeanor on my part as they have the same health and shields as everyone else. The support is your healer. They have abilities that either heal or protect their teammates. Assault, which is the one with the bullets logo, involves ways to do damage with a trend towards flanking with smoke screens or entering the void. And finally Recon, which normally has a passive ability which allows you to know where the circle will be, alongside some kind of scouting or map traversal skills, with the latter mainly applying to the robot, which has changed classes at least once because he's so niche. Now I love character systems, but they're not without flaws. First and foremost is that you may not be able to play your favourite character, as you cannot have multiple of the same character in one squad. Now this is a very personal example, but I love being the scout, the one which you can see where other people are, and my playstyle revolves around being essentially a wall hacker, so I end up feeling incredibly shafted when I'm not given that character. The second issue is that the characters are paid to unlock, whether it be with in-game currency, which is given to me almost completely randomly, or currency which involves spending real life money, which is of course an abhorrent standard in the industry which we need to stand up against. As a side note, I was a huge fan of Overwatch, and the one thing they did well was making sure everyone is available. But to be fair, Overwatch did this for balance reasons, because you needed all the characters to tackle each other's strengths and weaknesses. On the other hand, Apex doesn't really need this, as they're all relatively balanced and mainly gimmicky, so you don't really have an advantage beyond shock and awe in lower level lobbies by owning any character in Apex. With the exception of maps, which we'll save till last, I believe that is everything gameplay wise I wanted to discuss. So let us move on to the artsy side of things, starting with the soundtrack. Being a battle royale, the soundtrack, while good, is pretty limited. There's a main menu theme, a dropping theme, and that's about it. If I was to sing any praises about the soundtrack, it's that after hearing the first 30 seconds of it in between every round, it hasn't annoyed me, and it's iconic enough that I would recognise it if I heard it anywhere else. Let's be honest here though, unlike my favourites of Persona and Nier, I'm not listening to this soundtrack in my spare time. The in-game sound design is amazing. The guns feel powerful and the footsteps are distinct enough that if you listen carefully you could tell exactly what they're walking on. However, some sound effects are too similar to other sound effects. For example, at the beginning of the announcements there's a sound in them which reminds me of a door opening, so if I'm in a building I normally panic whenever I hear an announcement. The voice acting is what you'd expect of a hero-based battle royale. It's good enough to not upset you, but it's very memeable if you try hard enough, which I'm sure is what you all want, although it's still a few meme tiers behind Overwatch. Then there's character design. The characters look cool and unique, although the legendary skins are a bit naff in my opinion, especially considering it's normally 2 pairs of colour distinct uniques rather than 4 truly unique designs. So I don't know what it is, but I struggle to relate to most of the characters. Now admittedly it's a battle royale, I'm not going to be sharing a story with these people, but I want someone I can project onto, and there's just no one like that. But admittedly that is a personal thing that you can't really measure and you might not feel, and is not an excuse to not try this free to play game. And we are finally on to the map design, which is amazing. I feel by Battle Royale standards, they have all the things you need. Unique ways to traverse long distances, loot heavy areas everyone drops, loot light areas no one drops, areas with lots of cover and areas with no cover. It's the typical Battle Royale approach to cover everything, and you just have to hope the circle encourages your style over others. And the final point about the game as a whole, and this is a bit more meta, but there are some unique events, at least when I have been playing, that completely changes one's approach to the game. So far I've had rounds where you revive with free stuff, regenerating armor rounds, super loot zones being spawned randomly rounds, and so on. These help keep the game fresh with certain rounds, such as the free revive round that almost feels like a completely different game, namely COD Warzone when you win the Gulag. And with that, I believe I have said everything I wanted to, and we can move on to everyone's favourite segment, the totally legitimate numerical score. I give this game a strong 16 genuinely unique characters over its comparatively subpar Rule 34. To translate, the game is fun, and in the sea of battle royales it is in my opinion the best and the fastest paced. But with further inspection I fail to truly say it's a great game. I can play it mindlessly and have lots of fun doing so, but I don't see myself diving headfirst into becoming an MLG player. There's something missing, and I blame the inability to access and my lack of interest in the legends or heroes of this game. Overall, I do recommend this game, as why wouldn't I? It's free and I've put over 20 hours into it in less than a week. It's the most mature of the battle royales in my opinion, and I believe its serious design helps scare off those damn Fortnite kids, and not so serious that it tracks the old age pensioners from battlegrounds. And its meta is also more about skills than random building, which makes it easier to access and enjoy. Give it a go, what do you have to lose other than time? And the twit is over. Cut, we are done. If you have enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and comments in all their forms, from saying hello to constructive criticism, are always appreciated. Finally, and in my opinion, most importantly, follow me on Twitch to see me play the games I twit, often before the twits happen. And because I want to be famous and for no other reasons, be sure to follow me on Twitter for updates and copypastas. Now the self-shilling is out the way, I can bid you all a hearty cheerio, and for those that celebrate it, a very late happy Easter.